Hey guys, Bobo here. These are a few clips from another sword and buckler lesson that we did with a student yesterday. And I usually talk about the importance of games and drills which are constrained, but this is another type of session that we do, which doesn't follow that model. Sometimes, and that's not rare, it happens often enough, I want to focus on simple actions without decision making. Well, at least without tactical decision making. And these drills are extremely simple and direct. It's defending against common combos that you see in Sword and Buckler. In this case, I'm using side sword. My student is using an arming sword. For various reasons, she competes mainly with arming sword, even in tournaments where side swords are allowed. And that's a big issue in Sword and Buckler generally, because a lot of tournaments allow both weapons, and they allow a limit of blade length and hand protection that gives a significant advantage to people who use a side sword. In some tournaments, the blade length is limited to about the same degree, so something like 80 or 85 centimeters. But the hand protection on a side sword is allowed. In other tournaments, you have a much higher blade length limit, up to 95 centimeters of blade. And in that case, arming swords are usually 10 to 15 centimeters shorter, maybe even more. And they have a significant disadvantage. Couple that with facing someone who is a lot taller, and you have a huge reach disadvantage. So what we're looking here is dealing with that reach disadvantage by me using the side sword, and with her dealing with direct attacks to the head first, and then thrusts and cuts, and then dealing later on with a typical combo, which is a high attack and a low continuation. A lot of common approaches to sword and buckler is to attack high and then cut whatever opens up below. And in such cases, in my opinion, the shorter fencer with the shorter weapon should try to create a situation where they can actually use their sword, and usually that happens by not immediately riposting, but instead parry the first, parry the second, and then riposte. And it's a very simple approach, but I think it's important to follow it and train it. And while there are no explicit mentions of this in sources, although I could argue that some of Lignitzer plays actually show multiple parries being used, although on the losing side. It's an important reality to realize. If you're a shorter fencer, if you have a reach disadvantage or both, sometimes it's better to just wait it out and rely on your developed parrying skills, which is one reason we do this exercise, to survive long enough to get in your riposte. And while you can try to also do counterattacks, again, when the opponent has a longer sword and bigger reach, counterattacks may be unlikely to reach. So make the opponent come to you. Make them enter your distance. Make them make the mistakes they can make, or just deal with their attacks until the opening for your attack, for your riposte actually, comes in. And these drills are simple, they're direct, they're repetitive, and they're boring as hell in some ways. We try to make them interesting by having variations where you push or are being pushed, so you can experience both variations. Ones where you have to lead the opponent and pull them to you, even though they're longer. You want them to overstep and close the distance too quickly, so you can get a riposte when they're close to you. The other is when you're chasing them. And even though it's generally not the best idea to be chasing someone when you're shorter, if you exhibit the proper pressure, you can create a situation where that works. And that's it. I hope you found it interesting. Bye bye.